Imagine your entire world gets hotter, and you can't move north, can't climb higher, and you definitely can't book a flight to Antarctica. What do? Adapt or disappear? Today, we're looking at a study that asks exactly that, using tiny tropical frogs stranded on islands in the Seychelles. When climates warm, species generally have three options: move to cooler places, change their behavior, like becoming active at night, or adapt over generations. Frogs have it particularly rough. They're ectotherms, meaning their body temperature depends on the environment. That makes them especially sensitive to warming climates, which can affect how they move, breathe, and reproduce. And when you're stuck on an island, simply moving somewhere cooler often isn't an option. So this study asks, can frogs survive warming by shifting their thermal niche instead of dispersing? The researchers focused on a frog species called Seychelles seychellensis, which is endemic to the Seychelles. Most populations live on Mahe and Silhouette, mountains islands with cooler mist forests at higher elevations. But another population lives on Praslin, and Praslin has a problem. It's much lower. Its highest point is only about 367 meters, less than half as high as Mahe and Silhouette. That means there's no cool, high-elevation refuge, what ecologists call an elevational ceiling. The researchers predicted that if praslin frogs have adapted to warmer habitats, we should see four patterns. They should live at lower elevations, cool at higher temperatures, show changes in their cores, and possibly have larger body sizes. First, elevation. The researchers searched for frogs by examining leaf litters and listening for calls. On Mahe, frogs were found around 532 meters. On Silhouette, about 450 meters. But on Praslin, only 213 meters. That's a substantial downward shift, meaning praslin frogs consistently live in warmer environments. Second, cooling temperature. The researchers recorded frog calls and matched them with air temperatures measured every 30 minutes. Frogs on Mahe and Silhouette called around 23.8 degrees Celsius, while praslin frogs called at about 25.4 degrees. That might not seem huge, but for ectotherm it matters because the body temperature reflects the environment. This means that praslin frogs are active at warmer body temperatures. Third, their love songs changed. Male frogs use advertisement calls to attract mates, and these calls are sensitive to temperature and physiology. Praslin frogs produce longer primary notes with more pulses, delivered at a lower rate than frogs on Mahe and Silhouette. This suggests they're not just avoiding the heat, they're still trying to reproduce under warmer conditions. Fourth, body size. The researchers measure snout to vent length and body mass. Frogs breathe partly through their moist skin, which also makes them prone to drying out. Large animals generally lose water more slowly because they have less surface area relative to the volume. Interestingly, praslin frogs were generally larger, which could help reduce water loss in warm environments. However, smaller frogs may simply hide more to avoid drying out and may have to mist during sampling, so the result isn't definitive. So far, we've seen ecological and behavioral differences, but the researchers asked a bigger question. Could living in this warm environment be pushing these frogs towards becoming a new species? To test this, they analyzed DNA and mating calls. The genetic data showed that praslin frogs form a distinct group, while Mahe and Silhouette frogs remain genetically similar and show near clear separation. The calls support this too. Mahe and Silhouette frogs mostly produce short calls, while praslin frogs more often produce longer, more complex calls. Together, these patterns suggest the praslin population has diverged more strongly, likely due to isolation in a warmer environment. In other words, this may represent the early stages of speciation. So why does this matter? This study shows that some tropical amphibians can shift their thermal niche and adapt to warmer conditions. But there's a catch. This kind of change occurs over very long evolutionary timescales. The praslin lineage diverged from its closest relatives around 8 million years ago, while modern climate change is happening far faster. In fact, vertebrates would need to evolve more than 10,000 times faster than typical rates to keep up. But observing frogs in a warm environment is only half the story. We still don't know their thermal safety margin, how close they are to temperatures that could become lethal. And because this study tracks where the frogs are present rather than how well they reproduce, we can't be sure whether these populations are thriving or simply surviving. Evolution may have bought these frogs time, but it doesn't remove the hard limits of heat tolerance. Without the ability to disperse to cooler habitats, local extinction remains a real risk for many tropical frogs, which highlights the importance of conservation efforts to protect these populations.